Have you ever looked at your payslip, then looked at your bills and thought, cool. So I just worked 160 hours this month to break even? Or maybe even go negative? You're not imagining it. You're not bad at money. You're not lazy. You're just living in the UK in 2025, where wages have been stuck in place for over a decade, and the cost of living is climbing like it's training for Mount Everest. So in this video, we're breaking it all down. Why UK wages are so damn stagnant, why everything around you costs more every year, and what, if anything, can actually be done about it. Grab a tea, or if you're broke like me, hot water in a mug. And listen, this isn't about doom and gloom. It's about understanding what's going on so we don't blame ourselves. But the truth is, a lot of people are feeling the squeeze, and staying silent only helps people who are benefiting from this mess. Now, on paper, you might have had a few raises. Maybe your hourly rate went up by like 50p here and there. But here's the key question. Has your wage gone up more than inflation? Because if not, that raise is actually a pay cut in disguise. According to the Resolution Foundation, the average real wage in the UK, that's wages adjusted for inflation, are still lower than they were in 2008. That's 17 years ago. You could have been in secondary school when wages last made sense. Even worse, the UK has had one of the slowest wage growth rates among developed countries. Countries like Germany and the US have seen stronger real wage growth post-pandemic. The UK? Still stuck. And here's the thing, it's not like we're being cheap with our time. UK workers clock some of the longest hours in Europe, yet get some of the worst returns. So if you've ever thought, I'm doing everything right, why am I still broke? You're not imagining things. You're just a part of a system that hasn't updated since your mum was rocking a Motorola flip phone. So if wages are flat, maybe prices are too? Nah, I wish. Let's talk about the cost of just being alive in 2025. Rent. In 2024, the average UK rent went up by 9%, with renters in cities like Manchester and Bristol seeing double digits jump. Energy. Even with the energy price caps adjusted, bills are still 50 to 70% higher than they were in 2021. Groceries. According to the ONS data, food prices rose by over 25% over 2 years. Eggs, cheese, oil, cereal, all the way up. Transport. Train fares went up 4.9% in March 2024, the biggest hike in over a decade. And for homeowners, mortgage rates shot up during the Bank of England's interest rate hikes, making monthly payments hundreds of pounds higher, even for those who aren't new buyers. Tell me in the comments, which rising cost hit you the hardest this year? For me, it's definitely rent. It feels like I'm paying luxury hotel prices just to live in a flat where the heating barely works. And it's not just the big stuff. Even little luxuries have become guilt trips. You walk into Tesco thinking, oh, I'll just grab some bits. Somehow, it's £30 for soup, toothpaste, and a multi-pack of crisps. You start doing the mental maths while queuing up, praying that you don't have to do the awkward put something back moment. We've all been there. Now, here's the bit that gets messy. Why haven't wages kept up? Here's the big culprits. 1. Stalled productivity growth. The UK's productivity, meaning how much economic output each worker creates per hour, has barely grown since the financial crisis. Without that growth, companies argue there's no justification for pay rises. But here's the thing. The UK has some of the worst infrastructure and underinvestment in Europe. Poor public transport, outdated broadband, and a slow adoption of tech all limit productivity. So really, it's not workers being lazy, it's the system being inefficient. 2. Decline of trade unions. In the 70s, over half of UK workers were unionised. Now, it's just 22%, and only 13% in the private sector. That means fewer people have collective bargaining power, less negotiation, fewer strikes, lower pressure on employers to raise pay. Ironically, we're now seeing a bit of a comeback. Nurses, teachers, train drivers, more strikes in 2023 to 2024 than we've seen in years, because people are finally saying, this is unsustainable. 3. The rise of insecure work, 0-hour contracts, temp roles, gig economies like Deliveroo, Uber, freelance platforms. They often come with no stability, no progression, and no pay bargaining. In 2024, there were over 1 million people in 0-hour jobs in the UK. And yes, many of them are graduates. It's like playing a career in Jenga. One bad shift and the whole month just collapses. 4. Austerity and public sector pay freezes. Remember the we're all in this together era? Austerity hit the public sector hard. Nurses, teachers, firefighters. Their pay was frozen for years, meaning real-term cuts. Even now, public sector workers are still catching up. And since public sector pay influences the rest of the economy, it drags everything down. 5. Corporate profits versus worker pay. This one actually burns. In 2023, Many big UK companies reported record profits, even as they laid off staff and refused pay rises. So the money is there, it's just going elsewhere. So what does this all add up to? It means that even if you're working full-time or multiple jobs, you might still struggle to save anything, delay buying a home or starting a family, avoid things like dating, travel, or hobbies because everything costs too much. And for young people in particular, Gen Z and millennials, this is normal. We're told to just work harder, budget better, cancel Netflix. But when rent is 60% of your income, it's not Netflix that's the problem. Home ownership for under 35s has dropped by almost half since the 1990s. It's not that we don't want to buy homes, we literally can't afford to. Even the middle class feels like a myth now. You've got a degree, a job, you're not spending like crazy, and yet you're still wondering how to afford Christmas and a dentist appointment. That constant anxiety, that's not normal, but it's become the default for our generations. Alright, this all sounds grim, but what can actually change? Here's where things get real. Policy level solutions, things we should actually be pushing for. Stronger unions and better protection for gig workers. Tying minimum wage to inflation more directly. Investing in productivity, better infrastructure, public transport, digital access. Rent caps or stronger tenant protections. Progressive taxation on wealth and corporations. It's not easy, but we've seen that collective action works. The more people speak up, strike, vote, and pressure MPs, the more likely we'll see real change. But politicians won't act unless we make noise. That means voting even when it feels pointless. That means supporting movements that fight for change. That means refusing to accept the idea that this is just how things are. Because if enough of us push back, they'll have no choice but to listen. And on a personal level, talk about money with your friends. Seriously, break the taboo. Learn what support is out there. Hardship funds, energy grants, rent assistance. Build skills that give you options. Even if it's free online courses. Consider joining or starting a union at work. And share your tips. Whether it's budget meals, apps you use, or just ways to stay sane. What's helped you deal with the rising cost of living? Drop it in the comments. Let's build like a kind of mini survival guide together. You'd be surprised how many people are silently going through the same struggle. One comment could help someone feel a little less alone. And right now, that kind of support matters more than ever. So yeah, UK wages are flat, prices are up, the vibe's very much down. But remember this, it's not you, it's the system. And the system can be changed, but only when we stop blaming ourselves and start demanding better. And if this video has helped you feel a little bit more seen, hit the like button, subscribe for more, and maybe send it to a mate who's also wondering why they're broke despite working 40+ hours a week. Thanks for watching, and don't let anyone tell you that you're not doing enough, because the truth is, you're doing a lot with very little, and that's already impressive. Let's keep the conversation going, not just in the comments, but with your friends, your co-workers, your community, because the more we talk about it, the harder it is for people to empower to ignore it. We deserve better, and it starts with knowing we're not alone.